I have some questions.
Okay.
Because
we probably don't have answers, but
what are your questions about?
The other thing it was that I'm that one fucking weirdo, right?
Yeah, you are.
I'm that guy that
me and Matt are too on occasion.
I'm that guy that watches the Castlevania anime,
yeah,
and then says, let me go see what this Dracula's Curse was about.
Okay,
and then I went.
That's not weird at all.
But it's like this old NES classic, beloved amongst the things like Mario 3 and Mega Man 2. Is like a thing that I'm getting around to now to see what's up.
It's weird that you want to go to the hardest Castlevania ever.
Is it? Because that's what my questions are, right?
I've never actually played Dracula's Curse.
It's the hardest one.
Because my first question is, one, is it like this all the time? Is it like this all the time? Because it's really, really, really hard.
Oh, it is.
And I've made it a good ways in at this point, but it's kind of nutty what it asks of you at times. And my other question is that classic Castlevania, as someone who's an outsider to the franchise, a lot of the times when NES games were difficult, they were difficult in a way that, like Mega Man, for example,
it's fucked up.
It spawn like Ninja Gaiden, for example, spawns a bunch of bullshit at you and just keeps it coming because the screen is the way it is.
It's almost a bug.
Mega Man has levels that are like requiring you to make these tight platforming jumps, disappearing blocks and split-second left and right movements, but your character is capable of making them, right?
Yes.
I felt like, and having played the new Curse of the Moon version of things,
Bloodstain.
Yeah, I went through that and was
Bloodstain's easy.
Yes, and it felt like and I was like, oh, this is cool, like yeah, and it feels and like I had no questions about like precision or movement or whatever. Going back to this, it felt like 75% of the difficulty was based on the fact that Richter or whichever your protagonist was,
Trevor.
Excuse me,
just watched the anime.
Fine.
Trevor and I'm sorry, I'm not.
Trevor, Sypha, Alucard, and Grant Dynasty.
Yeah, so far I got Grant and Alucard.
Okay.
It feels like the difficulty is coming from them being really slow to move and do things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Castlevania.
Okay. So, like, in other words,
Castlevania 1, your jump has a defined arc.
Yeah, you're stuck in it.
And if your attack takes like a full second to strike.
In this too, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. And that's why I was like, if you could actually, if the game responded to my inputs, it would like
no play in precognition mode.
Also, what are you playing this on?
NES,
like the actual hardware.
Well, it's a ROM, but
so what are you playing it on?
My computer.
Yeah, okay, there you
go. But so I'm like I was like, oh, I didn't realize this, I guess, because like the newer ones that I'd played, and definitely like my understanding of it was like, you're pretty nimble on your feet, your jumps can be precise, you can attack as you need to. But the enemies are they're coming at you with some shit that needs you to dodge nimbly and be careful. And in this case, it feels like the enemies are coming at you with some shit you need to dodge and be nimble with, but you can't.
No, it's the enemies are coming at you with some shit that's the same every time, so learn it.
Right. And the way they crouch or they go up and down is just enough for you to miss it with your whip, for example. There's points where you get to the top of a stair, and then
stairs are a problem in general in Dracula's Curse. Much more of a problem than in the other games.
Am I allowed to say that they're awful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stairs in all classic Castlevanias are awful.
But in Dracula's Curse, it's worse.
Because I'm definitely, like I said, I'm coming at this going, okay, this is old. There's some date here.
Yeah.
And I don't know
the system they made was not planned for stairs, and then they added stairs.
Because some people are probably like, this is what makes it classic. And I'm like, yep, those things suck.
It's why it's so fucking mind-blowing that in Super Castlevania 4, you can just fucking throw your whip straight up.
Now, the fact that Grant can control himself in the air and you can't with any other character means that it's a deliberate decision.
Like, you should be taking these characters based on the problems that you are having in this current room, I think it's always what they're kind of going for, but you can only switch at certain times, unlike Bloodstained.
No, you can switch anytime.
You can?
Yeah. Select switches them anytime on the spot.
True. It's
Game pauses, you get a nice 5-second and then your character comes in. But
I forgot.
the stairs are unbelievably terrible and ever present.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
In this game. And you get to the points where there's enemies that attack you low. For example, the knights that roll their axes at you, or the fucking, the monsters that swoop up and down, the bats and shit.
Yeah, the motherfuckers.
And you gotta crouch to whip them, but you get to the top of the stairs and you can't crouch because down makes you go back down the stairs. Yeah. There's times when you get to the top of the stairs and you have to turn around to make the next jump, but turning around moves you forward a pixel and you drop and die.
Yeah.
Because falling onto stairs it's still a pit.
Yeah.
And I remember that always.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, I remember always seeing that about the old games, but like I never quite realized what it was like room to room, back to back.
Like
how
Alucard
utterly
in
rough.
Symphony of the Night is a fucking jet plane he's a fucking F-16 compared to his every other version of
It's
Castlevania.
kind of nutty, yeah. And so that's all it is that like we're talking about things where you're like it's when you want to make someone in a game like Overwatch, like you don't want to punish people by making them not play and things like that, right? I'm a firm believer in make your player character. This is super old, so but
people learn this.
Yeah, but it's the idea. They did learn it for sure.
Because the next Castlevania they made is like one of the easiest ones.
Right.
They kind of
the idea of like you have a character that can do tons of shit, but the enemies are just better than you, right? And that's what makes your super hard games, like your Devil May Cries and your whatnot, like you're still enjoying it because you're like, I have to rise to the occasion and I still have all the tools. Versus like the enemies are normal or slightly above, but you are underwater.
You are bad.
You are not you're a bad.
Yeah.
You're a survival horror main character.
Yeah.
In a way.
Do you know what you'd probably like to try after this is Bloodlines on the Genesis?
I tried the first
That's a
stage
good
of that
game.
because of the intro to Symphony of the Night. I wanted to go see what it was based on.
Well, do you mean Bloodlines
and it's
or
based
Rondo?
Chino Rondo, exactly. We're not
that's
going
a completely different game.
I know, but I went to load that up to see if it was, because that's what it said in the corner of the screen,
Yeah.
even though they lied.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, is it this? And then someone said, no, the game lies. That intro wasn't actually Bloodlines. It was Sankono Ronde.
Sankono Ronde.
Rondo of Blood, which never came out here and then eventually did for the PSP.
Yeah.
But
and now did again.
Yeah.
Because Bloodlines is like, it's a bit harder than Super Castlevania. You have two characters you can pick. They're vastly different. You can't whip in all 8 directions. It's a level-based thing, so it's a nice little mix of like not the classic style with like a little bit of variation and where you're going and who you can be, like the later
It's a
games.
prequel to Portrait of Ruin. Is the sequel to that.
But the reason why I went to
because of the Netflix.
exactly,
I know.
so I wanted to see that stuff.
Yeah.
And that.
I mean, you don't get much story out of the game in general.
I ultimately didn't know how much I was going to get.
But now you appreciate how difficult Trevor, Sifa, and Alucard's quest was, because it's very hard for them to jump normal.
I'm appreciating that the difficulty of these games, really a lot of it is based on the levels and the it's not, because ambushes are good, right? I like a good ambush that you got to learn and then work your way through it. But control and stair platforming are just awful.
Yeah.
And
Castlevania 1 is about learning every single placement and like, do you have the cross? Throw it. Throw it before the enemy's on the screen. Do it.
No, you know an enemy is coming up before he's on screen, so you pre-throw the cross. So when you walk, you scroll the screen to the get. Like that's the type of memorization
enemies
it
take
requires.
but before the last enemy is dead, the next one is spawning forever from that same corner of the screen.
These are games
because the bats. It's like if you kill the bat too fast, another bat is immediately on its ass.
It's weird that you decided to talk about this today, because last night I was just happened to be watching an AGDQ run of Rondo,
Yeah.
And you see the guy not walking because that's stupid.
Yeah.
He's jumping backwards, which is faster. And he knows every single time a bat that just got killed, another one's spawning.
Yeah.
And there's ways around it, but that's the incredible
sometimes
amount of
there's a random chance they'll spawn in the wrong place, or sometimes the zombie will turn around and then fake you out.
Because they say, like, I'm going to get a bad pattern here. The fleamen are going to give me a bad pattern.
Yeah.
And they do.
Well, like Wolves, going along with Matt's point, it is actually interesting that you brought this up because it brought me to a realization. Because I streamed RE2 Claire B last night. I beat it in my best time ever. Woo, under 2 hours. But I'm thinking about it because you're talking about games that your movement is bad and enemies are more capable than you in a lot of cases, and how that feels bad, right?
Yeah.
Resident Evil, like, let's pick RE2, is the one I'm the most familiar with. You don't get more skilled at Resident Evil 2, ever. You learn it. These are games not to gain skill or mastery, but to gain
proficiency.
You learn.
Proficiency.
You learn them.
Yes.
Like when you play Castlevania, there is the correct way, which is you walk 5 steps, then you swing the thing.
Exactly.
Right?
And to be fair,
you have to know how many whip hits a night takes.
Yes, and to be fair, the first time you play a Souls game, everyone would love it if they didn't have to worry about stamina. If you could just swing forever like every other game, But that's not what this is asking you to do, and that's definitely understood. But it felt not like this was those. It didn't feel like those imprecisions and slowness were design decisions. It felt like they were just.
Well, the whip is definitely a design decision that it takes like a full second,
for it to come out. But like some of those things felt like just this is how it was built, and unfortunately, I felt like some other classics built around the same time were tighter on controls.
Oh, they were.
But yeah, this is ultimately old man yelling at Cloud from
ancient
20
Cloud.
years
the
ago.
Cloud's gone.
30 years ago.
Not only is the Cloud old, but the Cloud changed into what you wanted and then died.
Yeah. So I'm insanely late to the party, but I just wanted to know. You know what I mean? Because like I said, if anyone doesn't know, I've always been on the outside of the Castlevania franchise. I've played Symphony of the Night, and I played.
Probably a random DS one.
Maybe, but not. I played the Game Boy Advance ones for a couple hours, but I didn't get much further.
They're good.
And then I dabbled in here and there as a classic beloved franchise. It's always been floating around me because everyone I know is super into it, but I never was. So I definitely just wanted to sit down and after that anime kind of see what was up. And these are just my 2018 conclusions
from a game from like 90
years ago.
3.
What?
I don't even know
Dracula's
when Castlevania
Curse?
3 came out. Yeah,
Castlevania 3. It would have to be 1990 because Super Castlevania 4 came out in 91.
Okay.
So either 89 or 90.
So you're 18 years late to the party. No, wait, you're 28 years late to the party.
Castlevania 1, I'm pretty sure it came out on the NES in 87.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, it's a beloved franchise, and it definitely, I guess, kind of just kept going, and got better as it went on.
You didn't get the Requiem collection, did you?
No.
On PS4, okay, because that's a good place to play Rondo.
I'm probably not going to.
If you actually want to play the prequel to Soten, that would be it.
Yeah. No, I know.
That's
there's a feeling I got over the weekend when I beat Calamity Ganon. This weird nostalgic feeling. I talked about it on Twitter of like for these what I would call like antagonists like Ganon, Dracula, and Ridley. It's like there's something really satisfying about putting them back in the ground again, like you have over and over and over for 30 years now in some of their cases. Like it's sweet. Like it's that bit from SpongeBob, where they're yelling at the old man. Like, how many times we gotta teach you this lesson, old man? Like Dracula, how many times we gotta put you in the ground?
I understand.
You dumb vampire.
I get that, but I also want more. So when Mario Odyssey was like, here's that Bowser, and then you're like, wait, then there's some bullshit afterwards, and you go, oh, fuck, this is great. It made me love it more.
Yeah.
Because I like to see it go even beyond.
Extra.
Yeah.
You know, I like to see it go beyond. So,
beyond.
Exactly. This is what it means. You know, so anyway, that's what it is. And I'm glad I did it to understand. And I'm probably going to go until I beat it. But like the fact that you're like with these crippling just disabilities at times.
There's a reason why these games changed, man.
And you're taking as much damage as you are, and then there's like a boss fight that is like actually 3 in a row, and you got to run gauntlets on these bosses because they start getting phases.
Yep.
And you're just like, you're like, how is this actually?
You getting your value out of your $90 NES
And
card?
that's what it is, right? That's absolutely what it was. It was. I was really surprised at the levels of clunk. And it is nice to see that clunk got ironed out as time went on, but it took some figuring out.
We've always prided ourselves on the ability to go back and appreciate stuff, but like we're starting to hit the edge of like there's only so far you can really go back before you're like, right? And like because the early NES is now 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's a long fucking time. There's a lot of little accessibility things that we got used to that are like 15 years old.
I was fully prepared for that's a classic, you fucking madman. Yeah. What are you talking about? But I'm hoping to meet some not these ones. Nah, dude, yeah.
No, those games are fucked up.
And
yeah, it depends on the franchise. It's like you can go back to play Mario 3, and it's like I did like a year ago. I'm like Mario, but that was like the ultimate of the NES, and it was like in the last year of its life cycle. But then like you go back to like Castlevania 3, and there'll be a lot of rough edges. But it's like, Woolie, you also when I bring it up. And I bring it up often. I'm like, hey, Woolie, so, Jet Force Gemini. You're like, no. I'm like, it's not. No.
It's the bit, Matt. It's the bit.
I know, but you also refuse to play it.
But I do, yes, firmly and staunchly. But when it comes to Castlevania, I feel like I'll always be an outsider on it. And,
there's you don't always have to be. But there is an enormous amount of games to even, like, say you wanted to be an insider on that thing. Yeah. I would say play 1/3 or 1/4 of the game.
That's what it would come down to.
That's still like 5 games.
Exactly. That's what it would come down to.
There's a shit ton of them.
My interest for it and its content, like, is, it's just not as high as it is for a lot of other.
Like Metroid, for example.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the handhelds are very disposable. Like, they were either written out of canon or they're just not worth playing.
It's unusual for people that live in the world of games and what like we do to not be into Castlevania. I'm the only one of my friends I know that's just not
like
into it.
What I would do for you if you actually really cared. Go talk to Liam because he's a Castlevania nut.
I don't. Though.
Okay. Well, go talk to your friend who's a Castlevania nut. This appears to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Have them give you the list.
Yeah.
That list will be massive.
Yeah.
Now go to your friend who doesn't care as much about Castlevania
and cut it down,
and have them go, yeah, you don't really have to play this one or this one, this one.
Yeah.
And they'll give you a list of like 3 or 4 games. Like I'd probably say Order of Ecclesia's on there, Dawn of Sorrow's on there,
Lords of Shadow 2.
Yeah, Lords of Shadow 2.
It's honestly like it's half
not one.
It's half driven by curiosity, half driven by FOMO. Because it's just
FOMO is so strong with us.
It's just FOMO. It's just, guess what? Everyone's into Castlevania. And I'm like,
how bad's your FOMO? Because I'll be playing a new release and having FOMO about other new releases.
Yeah. FOMO's bad. FOMO's real bad. But the honest truth is, I was only even curious because of the anime. So, whatever.
Let's not tell people what FOMO is if they don't know.
If you don't know, then FOMO.
Then you don't
We don't want no mo that FOMO. That's what I said.
There you go.
Hey, are we about to jump into news?
We're about to take a break from our sponsors.
Can I take a 5-minute break? I got to run to the store because I'm falling asleep.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
Can you get me a White Guru?
White Guru, got it.
Thank you.
Big one or they only have one?
Small.
Do you want to talk more about Castlevania?
Well, we should just pause it.
But what are we doing for the live audience?
Oh, we could
live.
Tell them to play with their dicks.
Should we pause it or talk more about Castlevania?
Whatever you like. I don't know.
This is a podcast.
You're the host technically. So.
You know what? Let's just see if we can keep it going.
Let's just see if we can keep it up.
Let's experiment
for an extra 5 minutes.
So yeah, I think the other thing too with there's some weird shit. So Alucard in the game in particular, is you're throwing your ball projectile out, and then you get your upgrade, and he lets you throw 2, and then you get your next upgrade, and you throw 3.
Turn into a bat as well later.
Yeah, he has the bat, and that spends your thing. One, and this is gonna be some like I'm gonna just expose myself hard.
Please.
You break your lamps.
Yeah.
You get hearts.
Yes.
They're not life.
Nope. It's the only series where hearts are anything but
and
life.
I'm like, what are these things?
The only time
why am I collecting
the
hearts?
only time it's reversed is in Simon's Quest. So Castlevania 2, where hearts are not
man.
ammo.
Yeah, I'm that
hearts
guy.
Hearts are ammo for your special weapons.
Yeah, I'm that guy. I haven't played these games. I'm that guy.
I'll never understand why they did it even as a kid. I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
No, the only thing that can repair damage to your body is meat that you find in walls.
Hidden in wall. I didn't know,
meat.
and I accidentally blew a wall up and went, oh, that's where the life is.
They're everywhere.
Because otherwise I thought you had to go through the game never healing.
Yeah.
Because you only heal at the end of a boss. So you get to the boss, beat the boss flawlessly, and that's how you get life back. That was my impression of the game until I 3 or 4 levels in, broke a wall down and saw some meat.
Think about this. Let's say in a Castlevania 1, 2, or 3 or whatever, you have like 5 weapons, holy water, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, so what's going to be your ammo to replenish these weapons? Because you have a variety. We're not going to make different sprites for every weapon bit of ammo. So what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Like what would be in the candle?
Yeah.
Bullets? I don't know. And they were just like, it's going to be hard. Because hearts are your courage. You need the courage
to throw the cross
to throw a cross at someone.
That's what it is.
Well, if some guy was in an alley and the only weapon you had was an iron, like a fucking crucifix.
But it would come back to me when I threw it.
It would come back to you.
Then...
I mean, if you catch it.
I don't know how much courage I'd have.
It's scary. And holy water, too.
But the fucked up part is, in addition to being super casual and being like, what? With that, was even if those hearts that you broke gave you 1 pip of life, everything hits you for 5.
Yeah.
Like, nothing does 1 pip of damage anyway.
No, so you do 1 pip of damage to bosses.
To other things, but they do 5 to 10 to you. So it's not like it would have made it easier. Like you would go around farming those hearts, but ultimately you would still die in 2-3 hits.
In Simon's Quest, it has the day-night cycle, as you probably know. What a horrible night to have a curse. A box appears and it goes to night.
Okay.
And night, zombies come out, but all stores are closed. Because it's an open world game that Simon's Quest is, so you can go all over
straight
the place.
line. Okay,
but stores only sell you things during the day, so when it's night, there's nothing you can fucking do.
So you're just fucked.
You just have to wait for day.
Okay,
and that's like one of the main things. Castlevania 2. I only learned about this on an AVGN episode. He explained how some people have modded Castlevania 2 to try to repair all the damage it did. Because a lot of it's like Zelda 2, where you go and someone will give you a hint about where to get a spell or something. And in the original NES version, it was men hate garlic at night.
Yeah,
that's your clue.
Yeah,
and then people have rewritten it says drop a thing of garlic in this graveyard. Like, please do that.
Yeah.
And then a guy will give you the item you need, and they have to try to reconfigure it all to make fucking sense. And it doesn't make it into a fantastic game, but it makes it, like, better.
I had a moment after beating that boss that fucking Grant shows up in.
Yeah.
And it was a rough journey, through the clock tower, and then you fucking get around and you beat it. And then the game's like, cool, you beat the boss, yeah. And then the cutscene shows you like an opening where you're like, great, we're gonna move on to the next little. And then the game's like, no, go back through the level and get to the exit. That was the entrance. And I'm like, why? Fuck you! Just move to the next level.
You need more time. You need to play the game more, Woolie.
It was some shit. I was like, wow.
In Rondo, they have this neat feature. Every time you beat a boss, the boss will have like a death animation, and then it'll get in one last
kill.
But the one last strike, no matter how low
doesn't
on
kill you,
except for one boss. One boss's can. I think it's either Shaft or Death. I forget
because
it's such a cool feature.
Curse of the Moon
had that too. I think.
That, yeah, and it didn't kill you.
Yeah, it also didn't.
But it was really cool to learn how to dodge it.
Oh boy.
Or get it the first time.
Fucking love Rondo because Richter's like my all-time favorite. I think he's the coolest.
Richter's great.
Yeah.
His design and his brainwash design in Symphony of the Night is fucking great. But
are you going off of like design and move list, or is there dialogue?
Well, in Rondo, there's fully animated cutscenes that are voice acted in German because that's what they should be saying. I think it's German, or certain characters speak German
in the real country of Wallachia.
Yes. I think it's either in German or certain characters do. So, like, he had the most personality you could have gotten at that point.
Okay.
In Castlevania in general. But there's just him and Rondo, especially when you get him in get Richter mode, once you've beaten the game, and he's got so many fucking fighting game special moves that they put into Smash. And other things, just I don't know. Richter's just the coolest.
Most of Simon's moveset in Smash is actually Richter's moveset.
Because Simon doesn't have a lot for himself.
Simon's got I did the whip and then I threw the thing and then a horrible night to have a curse.
He can twirl his thing and that's about it.
Dude, when I found out hearts weren't hearts, like fuck.
What?
Hearts are
ammo for your weapons.
Oh,
well, he didn't know.
You didn't know that?
Hearts aren't hearts.
They're like that in fucking Symphony of the Night, dude.
I know, but it's like because that's the only other game where that has happened. I don't even.
Yeah, hearts are your ammo.
And like that's what I was saying is like even if you
chicken is heart.
Even if it gave you one pip, the game is still taking 5 to 10 off of you. So who gives a fuck? You know, it's nutty. All right, let's take a quick word from our sponsors.
Let's do that.